Brittany Murphy, Geeks of Color. Hi, Leslie. How are you?
I'm good, Brittany. How you doing?
I'm good. So I'll kick things off by just asking, what was it like working with Regina King for her feature directorial debut?
Amazing. Regina did the biggest hat trick of being a film director, I think, is wrapping up 150 people, wrapping us all up into the same vision, into a singular vision, because we all read the script and we come with some movie in our mind, some idea of what this thing is going to be. And their first responsibility is to, in short order, get everybody on the same page with this is the story we're telling and this is how we're going to tell it. So I just think she was an exceptional director. She brought the same nose for truth to her work behind the camera that we've grown accustomed to seeing from her in front of the camera.
And so for you, obviously, you're playing such an iconic person. So what was that like being Sam Cooke, and how did you do the research for it in order to, obviously you want to bring your own things to it, but obviously stay true to the script, the person?
Yeah, my own thing. What's my own thing? I just wanted to, in this context, my own thing was just, you know, I want to be courageous. I want to do something daring. That's my own thing. But I'm trying to do Sam's thing. I'm trying to do Sam's thing in the context of Kemp's thing. Kemp had written this beautiful script. And uh, I was lucky in that I had Sam's music, obviously. That is like a deep psychological profile in somebody. You learn so much about, I should say, I learned so much about the heart and soul of the man by listening to his recordings. Um, you crawl up inside of those recordings and you can hear it all. You hear Mississippi, you hear the South Side of Chicago, him growing up in the church, um, the sensuality, the naughtiness, the confidence. There's so much in those recordings that tells me about who he is that I can then build some of the scaffolding. I can build that the character and the behavior in that hotel room um, is informed so much by the recordings themselves.
Speaking of the songs, were there any songs in particular that either you are your favorites or ones that even just throughout your research were like, this song, this is it. I need to somehow get this into the film or the mood of it into the film.
Ah, um, well, I mean, his life's work, a change is going to come contains all that he was. Truly, I believe that. It contains everything you need to know about him is in that song. That said, you hear a song like that and naturally you want to hear everything else that that artist did. So it's not that you want to stop there. I don't mean to make him, you know, um, to oversimplify him. But I was, as you can imagine, very nervous about having to sing that song at the end of the film. But after all the research, after all of those hotel room scenes, being interrogated by Kingsley Ben-Adir as Malcolm X, and finding my Sam in relationship to and in relation to Eli's Cassius and Aldis's Jim, finding who my Sam was, amongst the quadrumvirate, informed and taught me how to sing that song on the day. And Sam was never closer to me than he was on the day that we recorded the day that we shot, a change is gonna come. I'm so better late than never, because I did not know how I was gonna get that song over. But the scales fell away, and it was just like, I don't know, I felt like I was able to see like a little bit through the matrix or something on that day. It just all became clear. I was like, I understand how he sang this song now. Or I should say, I understand it more than I ever have.
Right. And so my last question would be, obviously the script from Camp does a very good job at showing that even though they're all fighting for the same thing, they all have different ways of thinking of going about it. So for you, how did you navigate Sam's stance in particular, where he was more like, you know, you need to infiltrate these different whatever, for his example, for him, obviously the music industry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always think that my first step as an artist, part of my thing is to find those empathetic pathways. So I have to nod my head in agreement with the characters that I'm playing on some level. So I just thought that Sam was logical, that he'd had a record of, hey, before you call me to the carpet on how I've supported the Black community, on how um, down for my people I am, look at my record. You know, I'm responsible for food on the table of dozens of Black people whom I know personally, some of whom I've known my whole life, you know, from the South Side of Chicago. So I felt very comfortable representing my guy. You know, I thought his record spoke for itself. And actually, before we shot that scene, because Kingsley had been badgering me at that point for like days. Malcolm had just been coming and coming, and Sam doesn't say anything. He doesn't say anything. You know, he listens. He tries to. He's there to have a good night after all. Like, why aren't we here for a party? But when I finally came back, I was like, Kemp, you got to give me more. I said, because as a businessman, I need stats. This ain't just about feeling. I'm not going to come back to this guy with, this is how I feel and this is about my theory about business. No, here are my numbers. You know, that's how a businessman would shut it down. So, because numbers you can't argue with. Anyway, I had great fun, and it's still very alive in me, as you can see.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Brittany.